Hi everybody, hope you're all keeping well. This is an update to a previous video I made on how to use the previous generation of GoPro remote to control multiple GoPro cameras. This little guy here. Now in that video, the link is up here, I showed you how to use this remote control to operate multiple GoPro cameras at the same time. If you, like me, have multiple GoPro cameras a few generations apart in your collection, then this remote, for me, definitely breathed new life into those cameras. Yes, they do not have the features of the Hero 8 or Hero 9, but in most cases I just need a camera to record something where HD or 2.7K at 30 frames per second is perfectly adequate. In that previous video about this remote, I showed you how it could be used to switch on multiple cameras, start them recording all at once, stop them recording, and finally shut them all down. Since then, I've been using the remote a lot out in the fields, and it's worked out pretty well most of the time. However, also in that time, I have come across a few less than ideal experiences in using this remote. It's proved a little bit troublesome and so time wasting. Some of that frustration I've managed to resolve or manage better. And so in this video, I'm going to show you what I've done to manage this remote better. Easily stuffable. The same mount you get in the box. Before I go any further, let me first point out that the remote does not work with the GoPro 9, which is a shame. It was one of the little things that stopped me buying the Hero 9. There is a new version of the remote for the Hero 9, but unfortunately it's not compatible with the previous generations of GoPro cameras. So, as I do not have a GoPro 9, I cannot validate if the same remote behavior that I've been experiencing, those little annoyances, still occur, but this video might still be useful for you just to make you aware. The same techniques may apply. Now, if you watched my previous video in which I showed you how to sync the remote to different generations of GoPro camera, the remote is pretty straightforward to use. However, and this is the big however, and this is the frustration part of the video, either the remote control or one of the cameras, could be any one of the cameras, I do not know which, basically hiccups and loses sync or something like that. And from what I can deduce, it suffers from the following faults. First, the remote will not switch on any of the cameras at all. And secondly, related to that first point, all of the cameras can switch on but one, and this could be any one of those cameras synced to the remote. Now this is the really frustrating bit. You do not know which camera has not responded to the remote, and it's not as if you can reset the sync by switching off all the cameras again by using the remote and then switching all back on again. No, it seems once a camera has stopped responding to a remote, it's stuck. It will not respond any further, and that's the bit. This means when out filming and I've placed all those cameras along the trail, up a tree, behind a rock, in the various positions, I can't be sure all of the cameras are switched on and not ready to record. This is made all the more problematic by the fact that the cameras all make the same beeping noise. If they come on at all at the same time, there's no way to distinguish which one of the cameras is not switched on. Now sometimes the cameras can switch on in succession at slightly different times, in which case you can count the cameras in as they wake up. But most of the time that does not occur, they beep all at the same time. So the first thing I've learned to do now, when switching on the cameras, is to check the remote to be sure it has all the cameras under its control. If you look at the remote control screen, you will see the number of cameras it has control of. What you need to do is to be sure that the number of cameras it has on that screen is the number of cameras you have control of. Now generally, whenever possible, I try to preserve battery power of all the GoPros, and so I shut them all down with the remote so that I can pick all those cameras up and move them down the trail, reposition them, put them in new locations, and then I'll wake the cameras up using the remote, which is when I hear them all beep again. As I do this now, I look at the remote screen to see the number of cameras that has responded. I find that this may take a few seconds, maybe up to tens of seconds before all those cameras come online. I have found also that in my case, one of those cameras out of the three is slower than the rest, and so you can actually see the count on the remote screen go from 2 to 3. If after a good few seconds you do not see the remote's control count show the correct number of cameras, then you have a problem. One of those cameras has lost sync with the remote. Now, the only way I found to get the remote to see the camera again is to visit each camera in turn to identify the camera which has not turned on. This inevitably means I have to go back up the trail to all the places where I placed the camera, check each camera in turn, see which one is not turned on. Once I have identified the camera, I then use the remote to switch off all the other cameras. This inconvenience has also taught me not to switch on any other cameras that you may be using at the scene, wasting their battery or footage, and so do the GoPro roll call check before doing anything else. Now I need to re-establish control of the unresponsive camera with the remote. To do this, I switch on the camera by clicking the button on the side of the camera, not the top. Then using the remote, I switch on all the other cameras. All the other cameras that were off now come alive, and this seems to re-establish connection with the previously unresponsive camera. Again, to be sure, check the number of cameras the remote reflects in its screen. If the number is correct, you're ready to go and you're ready to record. But by now, as you can imagine, I do not trust the remote. So to be sure that the remote has control of all those cameras again, I switch off all the cameras using the remote, then switch them back on, count them in. If I see the correct number of cameras, then I'm ready to go again. Once I see the correct number of cameras on the remotes, I'm ready to start filming again until it happens next time. Now, I found this works most of the time. There is, however, another occasion I have found when the camera does not respond to the remote anymore, and that is when it's had its battery changed. And for me, this can happen quite a lot out in the field as I drain the batteries as I move down the trail. To get the camera to respond to the remote again, I have needed to switch on the camera manually after inserting its battery. I then switch on the remote to switch on all the other cameras as before, and that also re-establishes connection with the camera that you've just replaced the battery with. But again, to iterate, to be sure the number of cameras on the remote control is correct. Okay, that's it. So let me quickly summarize. First, I recommend that you switch on all the GoPros and do that roll call with the remote before switching on any other cameras that you have at the scene. At this point, you should have established that all is okay or you have a problem. If you do have a problem, then identify the camera that will not respond, switch off all the other cameras with the remote, switch on the unresponsive camera manually using the button on its side, then using the remote switch on all the other cameras, and that should re-establish connection to all those cameras that did not respond before. You should now be in a position where the remote has control of all those cameras again. But as I said before, do check the number of cameras indicated on the remote's screen is the number of cameras you want to control. Okay, that's it. I hope you found this video useful. If you like this video, then please do give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this in future, please do hit that subscribe button and be sure to turn on notifications too. Thank you very much for watching, keep safe, and I'll catch up with you guys next time.